The Q Acoustics Concept 300 is the little brother to the Concept 500 tower speaker. Sharing many of the same design cues, finish options, and even construction methods, the 300 really is a scaled-down version of a loudspeaker we already know to be great. So why are we reviewing it? Well, because I think the Concept 300 is better. And by the end of this video, I think you may agree with me. So strap in, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because today's review is all about the Q Acoustics Concept 300. The Concept 300 is a two-way bookshelf design based around a single 1-inch tweeter and 6.5-inch mid-bass driver, both of which you can find on the Concept 500, which is a speaker we've already reviewed on this channel, and I will link to down in the description below. Now, obviously, the 300 lacks the second 6.5-inch mid-bass driver found on the 500, and this does have an effect on its overall frequency response, but we're going to get to that in just a moment. Now, what really sets the 300 apart, for me anyway, are those stands. Yes, you can order the 300s without the stands, but I'm not really sure why you would want to. Their aesthetics and quality are as appealing as the speaker's sound itself. In fact, they're so integral to the design that it raises a very interesting question for me, and that is, which of these two speaker designs came first, the 500 towers or the 300 bookshelves? I ask because the stand's mounting plate and just overall design isn't something that just happens by accident. No, this took time, thought, tooling, experimentation. Not to take anything away from the Concept 500s, but anyone can build a tower loudspeaker. But the Concept 300 and their stands, that took some planning. It should be pretty obvious by now that I think the Concept 300s are great looking loudspeakers, and I especially love them in their white finish. Now, like the 500s, it is possible to attenuate the high frequency performance on the 300s using a bridging strap. Now, from the factory, this strap is not installed, and as a result, the high frequency is being attenuated. If you want a neutral high frequency presentation, you're going to have to use that strap in the proper placement. The amount of attenuation here is pretty minor, coming in at plus or minus 0.5 dB. Now, we use just about everything in order to test the 300s, from the name Unity Atom, Musical Fidelity M3SI, M8, XI, Cambridge Audio Edge system, which is coming soon to the channel, to source components such as Cambridge Audio's own Alva turntable, their CXN V2 media streamer, Technics' own 1210 GAE, and of course, our U-Turn Orbit Special. And for source material, we relied on a wide variety of music genres, both in analog and digital. For pop music, it was mostly Michael Jackson and Dua Lipa. For rock, it was Nirvana, Audioslave, Pearl Jam, and for R&B and hip-hop, we played The Weeknd. So we're going to link to all of those down in the description below. If you're looking for more specific titles, Christy can help you out with that. Seeing as how the Concept 300 is a bookshelf loudspeaker, we did try it with and without a subwoofer, and we did find that it paired very nicely with subwoofers from SVS as well as Yamo. But for the remainder of this review, I will be describing its sound without a sub, because while you can augment the bottom end of any bookshelf loudspeaker using a subwoofer, we need to stay focused on the Concept 300's actual sound. For a two-way loudspeaker with not a lot of bass prowess to speak of, at least on paper, the bass that the 300s possessed was very satisfying. Now, while I may have preferred it to reach down into, say, the mid-40 Hz range, the bass does sound deeper and richer than its spec sheet would have you believe. With most music and movies at reasonable volumes, I didn't miss a subwoofer. In fact, the bass that was there was very detailed and nuanced. These are two traits that I did not find to be very amplifier dependent. Though it should be noted that the Musical Fidelity integrated amplifiers, as well as the name Unity Atom, did the best at extracting the most detail and depth out of the Concept 300's lower octaves. In terms of mid-range, the Concept 300 is not neutral, but this doesn't bother me one bit. If I had to levy a criticism towards it, I would say that it's ever so slightly smooth. Thankfully, that ever so slight smoothness does not get in the way of detail, nor does it affect the speaker's presence by making it feel cloudy or woolly. No, you just get a little bit of roundness around the edges with none of the overt side effects. But to say that it's neutral, probably not. It's not as if it's forward. It's not like your favorite performers are becoming shouty or aggressive towards you, nor does it feel like they've gained an abnormal amount of weight. But yeah, it's just a little bit more pleasing than some. And it should be noted that, like the Concept 500, the 300's cabinet is among the more inert on the market right now. So at least in terms of the mid-range, you will not have to contend with boxy colorations or cabinet resonances. High frequencies, like the mid-range, are a little bit on the smoother side. Call it rounded at the extremes, which means this speaker sounds good with a wide range of music. There's a great deal of air and decay, though absolute extension falls just short of best in class. Still, for a fairly basic fabric dome tweeter design, there's an awful lot of sparkle here without a great deal of sibilance, even at higher volumes. The slightly rounded front baffle allows the 300s to image better than most any speaker that we've had. Dispersion is excellent. The center imaging is to die for, and the soundstage detail is fantastic. This is a speaker that is capable of throwing a soundstage that is equal parts width to depth. Dynamically, the 300s are exceptional, though like the 500s, they pull up short of being lightning quick or best in class. And that brings me to sort of my conclusion about these loudspeakers. They're just all about balance. And I hope that's been clear through this review, because yes, they may be smooth here, a little bit rounded off there, but on a whole, this is an incredibly balanced loudspeaker, one that pairs nicely with a wide range of source components as well as musical genres. This is not a loudspeaker that hangs its hat on any particular part of the frequency response. So it's not one that you're going to sit there and be like, the tweeter's the best there is, or the bass is like, subterranean. No, it's not the best in any one particular category, which makes it kind of the best overall. Yes, we do have loudspeakers that have more punch. We do have loudspeakers that play deeper. But I don't know if we have a loudspeaker in this house that does all of it at the same time to such a high level than the Concept 300s. And the fact that we're able to get that type of performance out of pretty much anything in terms of electronics that we have in-house only speaks to the speaker's strengths. Unlike the B&W signatures, this is not a loudspeaker that you have to throw your bank account at in order to get the performance that you've paid for. No, you can pair this with a receiver just as well as you can pair it with really, really nice separates. And it will reward you as you move up, but it's not something that is required. If anything, the Concept 300s make a pretty strong case for a speaker-first type of system build, whereby you spend a little bit more on the speakers themselves and then fill in the rest as your budget allows, because they do work so well with a wide range of ancillary components. There's really only two drawbacks that I see to the Concept 300, and the first is the stand. I know I just raved about how beautiful they were at the onset of this video, and they are gorgeous, and you should know that they do come fully assembled, so you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how to put this origami stand together. Also, it holds its shape through tension wires, and these tension wires can be incredibly difficult to see in some lighting situations. And as a result, you may run into them with, say, your vacuum or maybe even your foot. So if you have small kids, pets, or again, maybe you're not paying attention while cleaning, it is possible to bump into these tension wires. And well, it can hurt sometimes. And my last criticism of the Concept 300 has to be its grille. Yes, the grilles are magnetic and they are very well constructed, but they're black. They're black. I don't know why they're black on this particular loudspeaker. Had we got the speaker in black, the black magnetic grille would have been perfect. But in its white finish, it's not really a stylistic complement to anything. It just seems like an afterthought. And you know me, if you watch this channel, I'm pretty critical of two things: remote controls and grills. And the black magnetic grille on the white finish here just does not do it for me. Now let's talk about comparable products. And obviously the first one has to be the Concept 500s because, well, there's only two speakers in the Concept line, so naturally they're going to be compared to one another. I like the Concept 500 towers, but I absolutely adore the Concept 300s and would pick them over the 500s any day of the week. Provided you don't need that little extra bass extension that the 500s afford you, I think the 300s are the better speaker overall. They're just a little bit more coherent, a little more agile, and if you know you're going to use a subwoofer, then you get that placement flexibility that towers simply don't afford you. Yes, adding a subwoofer does add to the 300's overall bottom line, but I would argue that you're going to get exceptionally better performance going this route than the Concept 500. Another speaker that we tested the Concept 300s against was the Technics G90. Now these two are a floor standing loudspeaker, much like the Concept 500s. I will argue, if you're willing to build a system within a single brand, specifically you're going to pair the Technics loudspeakers with Technics electronics, the combination or the system on a whole that you will experience is otherworldly. But for some reason, you take those speakers off of Technics gear and put them with just about anything else, and they kind of become a little bit more average, which is why I would pick the Concept 300s over the 90s because they play nicer with a wider range of electronics. Now, another two-way bookshelf that deserves to be compared alongside the Concept 300 has to be the Bowers and Wilkins Formation Duo. Yeah, I know, the Formation Duos are a powered smart speaker, arguably kind of a glorified Google loudspeaker, but I have to assume that a speaker as good looking as the Formation Duos is also being noticed by the same type of customer that would be interested in the Concept 300. Now, which one is best kind of comes down to which kind of enthusiast that you are. If you're looking for something that is plug and play, meaning I can take it out of the box, plug it in, and just go on with my life, and I'm not really interested in building a system around it, then yes, the Formation Duos all day. They're that good. But if you're looking to learn and grow in this hobby and build a system around a pair of loudspeakers, then the Concept 300s should still be your pick. I know they're my pick because the other caveat to the Formation Duos is this. They are exceptional, yes, but they are a first generation product from a brand that is not really known for making products like the Formation Duo. And if that brand, Bowers and Wilkins, were to decide one day to stop supporting the Formation Duos or the Formation line in general, you may end up with some pretty expensive paperweights. Speaking of Bowers and Wilkins, I prefer the Concept 300s over the Bowers and Wilkins signature line of speakers, even though I will admit they are not the better speaker. The Bowers and Wilkins signature loudspeakers, when you get them right, have some of the finest high frequency response and bass impact that I have ever heard. Chrissy and I both would have liked to have a little bit more time with those particular speakers before they had to rush off to another reviewer, because once we got them right, oh my God, they were something special. You just have to be willing to jump through an awful lot of hoops and probably whip out your credit card in order to achieve that level of performance from them. And that's simply not something that you have to do with the Concept 300. And lastly, because I know you're going to ask, because Q Acoustics is a brand known for producing value for money loudspeakers, how do the Concept 300s compare to the new 3050Is or 3030Is? And the truth is, they don't. And I know this from firsthand experience because we just took delivery of the 3050Is, and that review is coming. But if you're looking at that loudspeaker, or currently watching reviews of that loudspeaker and thinking to yourself, you know what, I bet these can do it. I bet these are just so good they upset the Concept line, and that's why Q is pushing them as hard as they are. I assure you, the two do not even come close to being comparable, let alone should they be mentioned in the same sentence. Not to take anything away from the 3050i or the 3030i. I do think that those are going to be special loudspeakers, but they are not giant killers in that they upset their big brothers, the Concept 500 or Concept 300s. The Concept 300s, therefore, deserve to be mentioned alongside speakers from brands like Bowers and Wilkins or Paradigm's Persona or even Revel's Performa BE, because they are that good. This is legit a loudspeaker that you can buy and live with long term and just be happy. And that is one of its greatest strengths. Which brings me to my final thought on these particular little bookshelves. We started this YouTube channel a little over a year and a half ago, and in that time we've had the privilege of being able to demo and play with a lot of really, really great products, including loudspeakers. And up until this point, there's only been one loudspeaker that we have asked to make our own, and that is the Klipsch Heresy Mark IV. Well, joining our Heresy Mark IV will be the Concept 300, so you better get used to seeing it a lot more, because this is now our reference bookshelf loudspeaker to beat. And I really don't know how to heap more praise upon the Concept 300 than that. So I'm just going to wrap it up and say that is my review of Q Acoustics Concept 300 bookshelf loudspeaker. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And while you're down there, I do have another question for you though. What higher end or just bookshelf loudspeaker in general do you think I should look at next that might just upset the Concept 300s? Let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, ring the bell. If you use the links that Christy leaves down below, know that that is a great way of showing your support for this channel, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing so. If you're looking for another way to support the channel, consider becoming a member. You can click join next to subscribe right down there. Follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and I got to get out of here. So remember, the only person that has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.
What I'm trying to get at.
I'm trying to say that, like the mid-range and tweeter, and what we're kind of been saying is these are smooth operators. This is about balance. This is not a loudspeaker that's going to sit there and be like, hey, I'm really good at this. Or did you hear this down here? They just go, hey, you want to listen to some music, buddy? Put it on. We're fine. You know? Where like the Heresies are like, it's a bit like they sound really great. They sound live, you know? But it can be like boxing a little bit where, you know, the drum will be going like this and that attack is really great. And sometimes, you know, it hits and it's like, oh, I was standing on stage just then. I needed to take a couple of steps back. And some people are going to really like that, but not every scenario is going to call for that. And the same thing, like the B&Ws, you're like, where's the beef the whole time you're listening to them? And then you put on like a kilowatt amplifier, and then all of a sudden they found a sledgehammer to just come in and just hit you in the knees with it. And you're just like, where'd that come from? And again, depending on what you're watching or listening to, you may want that.
I loved that.
These speakers they're the balance of Goldilocks, where it's like we can do some of those crazy things up here, here, and here, but on a whole, we're a little bit more everyday, all-purpose Swiss Army knife.